Hello, House of Master Reviews here, and let's get started. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Yep, finally getting onto this one. Now, this is of the Netflix movies that I was interested, I should say. This is the one that really caught my eye. I mean, not just because, in fact, a lot of people have been talking a lot about this film. It's kind of incredible to how this stop motion film that, not to give to Netflix has pretty much become the stop motion animation, film side, pretty much. When you look at what's coming up as well and what came out last year, you pretty much see why. But out of all of them, this was the one that I was excited about the most. But yet again, until I understood a bit more about it, I kind of forgot. Well, actually, no. What I'm trying to say, what exactly it looked like. Then I had trouble forgetting what it looked like. I knew this was a Pinocchio adaptation, but considering how many others came out last year, even though they're mostly CGI, you kind of forget what it looks like until you actually see it. But here we are. And yeah, this definitely is the best Pinocchio adaptation last year by far. The competition. Look, I've not seen the Polly Shore Russian or I don't know whatever that import film with Polly Shore as Pinocchio. I haven't seen that, nor do I want to see it. I do know it was a huge meme when it came out. And the Disney live action remake. Rob. Oh, I really hope Robert Zemeckis finds a way to come back. Eh, I will admit, though, it did at least update a few dated things. I will give it credit. So I will admit, I'm gonna have to I will review the original film, the original Disney film at some point, probably this year. So yeah, but here's the one everyone loves, and I love it too. Whether or not I consider it the best anime movie of 2022, just wait to the end. But anyway, so the premise. All right, it's basically the same Carlo Lee story that we know and love. Geppetto makes a wooden boy and who comes to life with the spirit of some sort of magical spirit or fairy. And when comes to life, he creates mischief and has to learn a lot of life lessons in order to become, quote unquote, a real boy. This one takes a little bit differently. We begin off with the narration showing that Geppetto was once a father to a young boy named Carlo, who tragically passed away during the bombings of World War One. Since then, Geppetto has become bitter and well, has gone to a state of deep depression. So one night during a drunken rampage, he cuts down a pine tree that his son once planted and carves it into a wooden boy, hoping to replace his son. A wood spirit, played by Tilda Swinton, observes Geppetto on his drunken rampage and decides to bring the boy to life under the guidance of a cricket named Sebastian, played by Ewan McGregor. He And the boy becomes to life, and is named Pinocchio by the Great Spirit and Sebastian, and is initially a rebellious uh, boy who, while wants to, you know, help his father, doesn't know what the difference is between right and wrong, and it makes it even more complicated considering the time and place that he lives in, that Italy is in. And over time, Pinocchio comes across a bunch of interesting characters who intend to use his immortality to further them. Yeah, Pinocchio's immortal in this, and they explain it pretty well during the scene where Pinocchio first gets run over by a truck. I'm not gonna, and that's probably where the emotional heart is about what does it mean to be a real boy in two sort of areas. One of is that in this case, because of Pinocchio being a puppet, he is immortal, so he can be brought back to life at any given point, but it takes longer for him to revive at every second, which plays into the climax with Pinocchio giving up his immortality at some point to save his father. I think if you know where the story goes, it's going to involve Monstro or a whale of some sort. I'm just going to say it's just a yeah. If you know the story, you know what happens. But um, yeah. And the other underlying theme is that where this film takes place. This is set during the late 1930s to early 1940s. aka this takes place during the era of fascism in Italy. With led of course by Benito Mussolini. Now this could make things a little bit adult for this and for too adult for kids because uh, young. It's interesting to think that yeah, I would recommend kids should see this film, but this would be something and could understand things because there's nothing graphic too much compared to say. I will when I look at the Disney film, the original, I consider that a film that in many ways could be considered more something like 10 years plus for children to watch. I mean, the donkey transformation scene still can, I reckon, scare kids, especially actually more so if anyone older actually sees it. Like I remember it was a long time after, like, but I'll get to that a little bit later. With this, well, there is underlying themes of fascism, and you do see the effect it has on Italy, especially with how certain characters operate, with certain villains, how they operate, and and also how this affects Candlewick, aka Lampwick, if you've just seen the Disney film. And you actually, it's actually not as it's actually easy to grasp on this and how it affected how Italy was ruled at that point under the Mussolini dictatorship. So it's kind of smart, really well done. I yeah, as I was saying, so the story is perfect with how it handles everything. It's in many ways it is a story of how to be a perfect boy during fashion during an era of fashion during a period of fascism. So that's one great thing, and how it handles and the toll of being immortal as well as that's another underlying thing. The film is perfectly crafted in this, very well done. The stop motion animation is perfect. I mean, they the designs of the characters are very much influenced by an illustrator of the book, a recent illustrator of the Carlo Collodi masterpiece Grizz Grimly from I think the 2004 publication of the book. Grimly was actually meant to be a co-director and co-producer, but that eventually changed. But he is still an executive producer on this, and they do credit him, so that's all good. And yeah, these designs of these characters are just it's nothing like what you originally thought. Guillermo del Toro really knew what he was doing when he wanted to do this, and considering how long this film was made, he really had the opportunity to update the design from what he originally had come up with. I would say you can see this more with the original with Geppetto in particular, because when you see the original promotion designs for when Guillermo del Toro was trying to you know, get this picture up and running, you can see a lot from what Geppetto looks like now in the film from his original concept design. So yeah, Pinocchio in particular is the one is the most obvious reference to the Grimly in the Grimly illustrations. So yeah, keep that in mind. The voice cast is fantastic by far. Every character was every actor was specifically chosen for these parts. I think none of them are handled poorly. I think I love Tilda Swinton as these spirits, both the spirit that brings Pinocchio to life, and the one in the afterlife that pretty much teaches Pinocchio the cost of immortality. So, and she's perfect in both roles. Ewan McGregor is great as the cricket. He does an incredible job. I really was surprised with how well Kate Blanchett played as Spottatore, the monkey that's being abused by the circus ringmaster. Yeah, she did really well. I was a little bit surprised. I was a bit skeptical as to why they wanted to do that, but she ended up doing a great job as this monkey. Um, yeah, and the actor who played Pinocchio in this, who also voiced Carlo in the opening, he's a really good actor, and a really good voice actor, and child actor, I should say. And I really hope he goes somewhere. But by far, I think my favorite performance is actually is actually going to be surprising. My favorite performance is actually Tom Kenny as Mussolini, and that's strange because he only gets a few lines, but for what very little I got. And I was impressed with Tom Kenny with what he did. I was surprised. I really liked what he did. I mean, for being, I mean, we all know if people who know history know what Mussolini was like, and you know, I was impressed. I thought, with what they did. I thought Tom Kenny did a really great job. It's even more surprising, well, as you know, Tom Kenny's best role is SpongeBob, so now he's playing a tyrannical dictator. Jeez. Yeah, so that's one thing. The songs are really great. I think the two ones that stand out to me, um, is obviously My Son, which Geppetto first sings to Carlo. That was probably the moment that got me the most misty-eyed. That song, because you can tell just what Geppetto's arc will go through with this story, because that was so great. And the other one is Ciao Papa, which is one of the songs Pinocchio sings with the circus troupe. That is a really great song. Um, though my biggest nitpick with this film is the fact that the song's cut off after Pinocchio sings one song to insult Mussolini during a performance, and you don't hear any more till Ewan McGregor finally sings the cricket song in the credits. So yeah, that's probably the biggest criticism I've got with this film. And looking at most reviews, they seem to agree with me that why the film cut off on the musical numbers until the very end. In many ways, I would it, but yet again, it is a small gripe. It's nothing really. And I think the other thing I love the most is the original characters they created for the film. I mean, every the characters from the book that they've reinterpreted, they handle pretty well. And I like what they do with these characters, like Geppetto, Pinocchio, Candlewick, the cricket, the woods, the spirits, or fairies, whatever they are. But yeah, they do a great job. But I was really impressed with the original characters. Spartatoa, I've already discussed eh, a little bit, but I will say her arc does show evolvement, especially when she uses the other puppets to communicate with Pinocchio when he's with the troupe. Um, the main troop leader is, I would say, basically close to being a mixture of both the fox and the cat and Stromboli, or whatever he's called in the original book, I forget. He is by far the most prominent villain in this, but he is very, I would say he's actually a bit more. It's interesting how much I got a different vibe with how he's basically two characters incorporated into each other and how well they meshed well together. So yeah, he did a good job. He was a good character. And the other one is the Podesta, who was the most strictest in the fascist ruling of the town that Pinocchio and Geppetto live in, and is also Candlewick's father and house. And you see that really in particular, just uh, how far how far he takes the fascism very seriously when Pinocchio and Candlewick, or Candlewick, I should say, sorry, are taken to fascist youth camp, which he runs. That was probably the darkest moment I got with this film, and well, I would say it's going to. It's interesting how well, just how, and it sort of is a great way to show Candlewick's motivations in this film. But that was probably, as I said, that's the darkest thing, and you can really see. Well, before they did really well with the Podesta, he did that scene, that whole time they're at the fascist youth camp is probably the darkest moment, and you really can see just you know how bad fascism is. You know, yeah. So that's yeah. But so in total, I love Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. I think it's great. It's amazing. It's beautiful. Definitely worth a watch. I'm sure a lot of people have already seen it on Netflix. If anything, I would probably still say if you're going to show this to your children, maybe wait till they're about the earliest 8 or 9. I mean, though I will admit, it you can show this to younger children. So I think the fascist themes will probably go over their heads. But if anything, it's probably more. I'll tell you, it's best to watch as a teenager to really appreciate this, in my view. So yeah, I love it. It's a 9.5 out of 10 has stars. But I will say this. This is not my favorite anime movie of 2022. That honor is still going to go to Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I'm sorry. As much as I really love this, I was really impressed. I seem to think, and I really do like when I think about it, I think of it as a great film. Puss in Boots, on the other hand, seems to get more and more better the more I think about it. It's like I was kind of expecting a lot less with that compared to this, so the fact that it exceeded my expectations and became something I didn't think probably the most fun I've had with with any Shrek film in a long time is is a pure is just great, you know. It's reinvigorated my love for the Shrek franchise, and as it did, I'm sure, for a lot of others. Whether now the thing is though, when we get to the Oscars, I actually hope that the three Western anime films they pick, because there's usually five picks, and two of them go to Japanese anime films. The three I hope they pick are Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which were nominated for the Golden Globes last week. But I also hope they nominate The Bad Guys because that's also a really good film as well, and I really hope that gets more, love. Wendell and Wild as well, which is Henry Selick's Netflix stop motion film. That's also one that should be nominated as well. I just don't hope they don't nominate any of the Pixar films because, well, Lightyear was fine. It's not perfect. And Turning Red, I get the appeal for some, but it is very lackluster, and I do get severe vibes of Brave and a few other films as well. So yeah, yeah, boy. And Strange World, yeah, it's gotten worse since I reviewed it. Not as worse as the more I think about Don't Worry Darling and Bullet Train. Actually, no, Bullet Train's pretty much the same, but yeah, that I'm just saying that. Jeez, jeez, this last part of the video is focused on what I want from the Oscars when I get the nominations. When I hear the nominations, I should say. But that's it. So for my next video, we're going back to video games, and I'm going to revisit certain ones and discuss the DLC campaigns or certain DLC things with them. So I'm going to look over all my video game reviews and see what I can do with them. The only two I'm not including are Smash Brothers and Smash Ultimate and Multiverses. Because Ultimate, I've got something else planned for that. While Multiverses, while more stuff has come out, I am not. It's still not enough for me to, talk more about it and give a full video. So yeah, for everything else though of my video games I've reviewed, fair game, definitely. So in the meantime, this is Hazard from Hazard Reviews out, and I shall see you for my next video. Ciao.